Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am the motorcycle rescuer and this is sometimes motorcycle rescuer. So this build is at a bit of a standstill still already, but not a huge issue. I need to find a pipe that's a little bit longer than that to be able to go on here. I can't really do much else. You can't put on the fuel tank, you can't do anything because I'd need to top up the coolant, wouldn't I? So you can't do much else. What I am going to do though is put the rear end back together while I'm here. Try and find the side panel for there. It should be here somewhere. So the rear end I should be able to get back together. Side panel I should be able to put on. Even like the metal panels for the side of the radiator I should be able to put on. And bits and pieces like that for now. I think that's the front caliper. I'm going to have to give it a good clean. I mean, the pins themselves, the pads themselves are fine, but we'll have to cake this in brake cleaner. It was working, so it'll be okay. And when I say I think it's the caliper, I do just think. It must be, look, it's the right diameter. So I'll give that a clean. I'm going to absolutely cake that in brake cleaner. And that can go back on. That won't take long. A bit of dot 4 on. We should have a front brake again. So we can do bits and pieces at the moment, but until I get that pipe. Now I am going past the Halfords later. They might have something. I think they probably will actually. I'll take that with me. So for now, let's keep going. Let's get this front caliper mounted. That'll be a nice next step. So progress on this kind of work can seem really slow, but actually I've got the front caliper on and I cleaned it all up. So it's not particularly slow progress, it's good progress. I am, however, taking my mum out. It was her birthday yesterday, so we're going to go do something and come back to this later. But I find this quite exciting. I don't know why. I mean, just hearing it spark again, I guess, was nice, wasn't it? So yeah, I don't know, I just like the idea of it being a bike again. So I'm going to wrap up for a bit and then hopefully I'm going to pass the Halfords. Hopefully they'll have something like that to patch the radiator. And if we're extremely lucky today or tomorrow, we'll have this bike looking fairly normal and back to black. Okay, so we're back, guys. Hello everyone, welcome back. Remember I talked about torquing these down properly after 24 hours. You can see it's rubberized. Now you put the full pressure on it. That gets you your gasket. Dropped into Halfords. I thought they might have something like this, and they do. My biggest concern is if I can make that curve there, because it's quite rigid, this stuff. But I'm gonna have to really. It's only kind of that nearly worked, so that's not far off. But that is heater hose, so that will do the job if I can make this curve, guys. And I don't know how you can manipulate that stuff. I don't know if you can bend it or hear it. I don't know. But I'll give it a shot and we'll see what happens. If that bit there goes, you top up the coolant up here, keep it simple, and start throwing things back together. Very lucky, then you your bike still starts up. But remember, this is the famous bike that stops running every few days. Front brake didn't bite yesterday, so there's something not right in there. I also noticed that when I undid the bleed nipple, it didn't spray, so it could be blocked or the fluid could be not getting down to here. There's something not quite right, so I'll look into that. As a general rule, they're fairly straightforward front brakes, so there's not too much to worry about. So what else from here? Right, let me nip that up while it's fresh in my mind, and try and sort out that hose while it's again fresh in my mind. Okay, you can see this is sealed now, because you can see where it's pulled up the gasket. That will be fine, I have no concerns about that. That will, I'm sure that's sealed. This pipe was a bit of a pain. I had to kind of bore it out a little bit, both sides, just to get it over, and it's got a bit of a kink in the middle. I don't think it will stop flow enough to be an issue, but the pipe's just not flexible enough. But I think it will be fine if it's sealed. So basically I had to kind of just bore out the ends a bit to make sure it's sealed, it got on, that's all. So if it works, it will work. If it doesn't, it won't. I probably needed a 22mm inner diameter, maybe 24. And I can order one online, so I'm not hugely against that. But again, this is one of them bikes that sometimes starts, sometimes doesn't. So I don't want to go too nuts on it. I want to piece it together with what I've got now and test it over a couple of weeks. But the nice part of this is I can now top up the coolant, throw the petrol tank on, top up the oil because that dripped, and we're kind of at that stage. We can see if it keeps firing over the next few days. So that's good, really. It's not bad at all. What I did remind myself was that I need a spare key, because I'm using the only key on the petrol tank for the other, for Goldie. So I need to get a spare key. I think my local guy might do it. I'll check later. Hopefully he does. The spare fuel tap is here. I've checked it. It's working. Spare fuel tap is good and available and working. That's fine. So next step of this weird build. Also, yeah, remember guys, front brake's not working yet, but I'm sure there's something. And remember, I took the speedo cable for the ZL600, so I need a speedo cable as well. Right, what do I want to do next? I probably want to get the petrol tank on. Probably want to get the fuel tank on, and fuel tank on. Yeah, signed, sealed, and delivered, and then we're at a position where we can test it over the next couple of weeks, or the next week. My aim is to sell this bike for cheap enough for it to be okay. It will basically be running, riding, spares or repairs at this stage. Now it's hard for me to judge what price is in mind. I'll know within a week whether this is okay or not, because I just know the symptoms that me and Nat both experienced. I know I'll feel it, I'll experience it, I'll see it within kind of 3 days of starting up every day, that is. Right, let me top up that coolant so we can get the petrol tank thrown on. The petrol tank's a nice stage to be at. It'd be nice to get the front brake working though, wouldn't it? So coolant is topped up, an expansion bottle. Used a mixture of water and antifreeze. I didn't want to use the good stuff when I'm testing this pipe. It kind of just makes sense. So I used good enough stuff for it to work and run and ride when needed, but not to be you know, pricey. Okay, right, what is next from here? So we've got a sealed system at the moment, but there's no pressure on it, so that's not a good test. The water on the floor is where I'm just so rough-handed, so don't worry about that. There's no obvious sign of a leak at the moment. The system seems sealed, but again, when you run it, it could be a different story. So I think it is ready for the tank to go on, and if I can put the tank on, I can test it's running again. Although, actually, look at me missing a huge step, guys. It needs its exhaust. Should we throw the exhaust back on? Is this the time? It probably is, isn't it? Oh, I don't even know where all the parts are. I did find 3 of the brackets yesterday. Look, 1, 2, 3, and I know where I found them, so the 4th might be there. Although one of these brackets is enough to hold the pipe on as long as the others are there, so if we were really short, we'd be okay. The pipe is there itself, it's dirty, but it's cleanable. And the actual gaskets, as a general rule, you should use new ones, but that one's in. Come on, be in, please. Oh, I can't see that one actually, that one's not in. Yes, they're both in. Good, so the gaskets are on there. Yeah, as a general rule, guys, you'd use new gaskets, but I haven't got any, so will seal up the old ones. There's no huge issue there. Not best practice, but for a bike like this, it is what it is. It's what you've got. What I have to remember is to top up the oil before I run it. Let me see if I can take the lid off. I will I'll get some pliers on that. I'll take the lid off, and I don't even know if I have enough oil. I should probably top it up now, actually. Okay, so oil in there. I'll top it up fully after. I'm out of oil pretty much now. I don't know if I mentioned it yesterday, but the charity's out of funds at the moment. What I'm really bad at doing is separating my own personal funds from the charity. So it's always the way with me: when the charity's out of funds, I'm also out of funds. And I don't mean by that I use the charity funds. I mean my personal funds have gone into the charity. It's the other way round. I'm not very good at splitting the difference. But a bike like this, what would happen is I'd sell this. Let's say I sell this for £600 to £800. I'll buy 2 or 3 big oils. I'll buy a bunch of brake cleaners. You buy the things that you use the most: oils, brake cleaners, stuff like that. You buy what you need ready for the next few projects, and then generally you'd buy another project. So I'd spend probably 200 on bits and pieces and parts and stuff I might need, and then I'd have between 400 and 600 which I would put on a project. And I know I've got the little 2-stroke over there, but that's a very long, that's not, I can't see that being a road registered running bike anytime soon. So I'm talking about a 4-stroke moped or something, you know, in between these bigger projects. So that's how it works with me. So this has become a bit of a key bike for me at the moment, because whether it's scrap prices or running prices, it needs to bring the business a few £100. And of course we still need to sell Goldie over there so that Nat gets his money. So this happens with this stuff though, guys. It's nothing to worry about. It's I mean, I get kind of really low skint wise for a few days, but I've always got kind of the next thing ready. This one, on this case, it might have been the little moped in another case. These parts alone, they're worth money, guys. So in this game you're rarely screwed, but you do get low. So one of my top tips when dealing with exhaust is that it's harder than you think to get the front sealed properly. So I hang the rear off a big cable tie, and I'm going to put a cable tie on the middle one as well, and then get them lined up as close as I can, and then we'll do all of the we'll get it tightened down basically. Then you nip these up, then you go back to the heads to tighten them down fully when it's all in position. So you kind of do it back to front. So you hang these loose, get them set up, get your bolts in, come back, nip all these up with their bolts properly, go back, tighten up the head, and then you should have a sealed system. I say that as if I know exactly what I'm doing. I've done it plenty of times, but yeah, there is it is a bit of trial and error with me actually. Just I check it, fire it up, see how it sounds. If it's got a blow in it, then either try tightening a tiny bit more up there or rejigging everything. Okay, exhaust is on in this horrendous weather. It's horrible. It's on, and I expect it to be sealed, I believe. I've not cleaned up this exhaust because, again, this isn't going to be one of them bikes. This is going to be, you buy it as you see it. I'll clean up a little bit of the bits you can see more, but I'm not going to polish this turd too much. I did top up the oil. I'm going to put a bit more in because I've just turned it over to kind of spread it out. There's no oil drip at the moment, which is good. That's perfect. That seal worked exactly as it should. That's the other kind of stuff you buy when you've got a bit of budget, guys. That black silicone sealant is brilliant for lots of different applications. Okay, what's next? I can probably get the tank on. Probably. Let's give that a shot. So it's quite nice. We're looking like a bike again. I think I've sealed the fuel system. I think the fuel cap here, it's all been bodged, so you open it with a screwdriver. That's a bit annoying. I'd like to lube it up enough so that you could at least use the key. And to be fair, it kind of is, but I'm going to do a little bit more But the main thing is, the last bits of fuel that came out were really crappy looking, so I want to mix this before spinning it over. So I'm just going to chip in loads of new fuel. Speed this up. I was meant to keep some of that fuel for the little moped, but this is next priority, I think. Look at that for engineering. Yeah, this is kind of the next priority. So I think we could technically fire it up. I think the battery's got a bit low, but if it starts, it will charge itself. I think technically we could fire this up. Unless, of course, spark has gone again, which is always a possibility. Right, let me put some leads on to the Goldie, and we'll let's hear it again at least, maybe. So actually, guys, I've changed my mind. I'm going to go and throw that battery on charge properly. Make sure it's, you know, properly fired up and boosted. And I'm not too worried if this has lost its spark again, because I do know that it was part of the, you know, the problem, basically. So I'm not overly concerned about that, because I just need it to be a bike with no spark if that comes to it, and they'll sell it for parts like that. So I'm still quite happy with it being okay, although the truth is that we haven't necessarily lost spark yet. That needs firing up and boosting. I didn't want to pull out Goldie for no reason. I'm going to put it on charge at home, chuck this in, and I'll have some lunch while we're waiting for it to charge.